Hey, Dave, back with episode 4 of Fargo Truck TV, and we're going to talk a little bit about the motor and what sort of drivetrain we're going to use in this. We're going to use, I'm not a big fan of putting a Chevy in Dodge. That's just me, okay? If you're one of those guys who's done that, I'm not trying to piss you off or anything. But for me, this is a Dodge truck, so it's getting a Dodge motor, and that's all there is to it. Come on over here. And a couple of issues. So big block, I've had it mounted in here and had to do some modifications. As you can see, the firewall is stepped back, and that's because yeah, there's no room. You'd think a 6-cylinder inline would be long, but it's not. It was a very small displacement engine, and they were short. So we've had to modify some stuff to make it work, and so that's set back and cut open, boxed in that way. Here, what we've done is we've welded engine mounts, basically engine mounts that I've modified. The ones that bolt onto the engine, I've modified and welded to the frame so that they will hold our big block mopar that is going in here. Other modifications for that were we had to remove the front end on these is held on by a big horseshoe, or some guys call it a bucket, and that is gone. I've removed that because it took away about 3 inches of radiator space, so I've got these metal brackets holding it up now. Also, you can see where there was a cross member bolted right there, and that was right in the way of the lower rad hose and the oil pump assembly with the big block in place. I haven't reduced the structural integrity because of the fact that I've added a cross member here, very large one, that it never had before, and also I have made a bracket that you can't really see, but it is underneath that tin plate that's on the front that still joins the front of the frame together. There is a steel bracket welded in there across there. So that's that. So that's how it's going to go in. And here it is. It's like I said, it's a big block. It is a 400 cubic inch big block Mopar, wrapped up because I've just finished cleaning it. It's one I've had for a few years, and I'll talk very briefly about it. In that a lot of, if you're a Mopar guy, you heard me say 400 and you thought, oh my god, why did you build that? Well, it was a budget, and it turned out really well. This is an engine I've had in other stuff, and you'll find that a lot of the problem with a 400's never made any power, and the reason they never made any power is because they don't have any compression. 400, no compression. It's a big enough engine. The heads were nice and big and would flow lots of stuff as far as for a 400-inch engine, because it isn't that big, but it's big enough that it'll make power. So how do we get compression out of an engine that started at 7.5 to 1 without buying expensive pistons and spending a lot of money building it? Well, this engine was in good shape, so it didn't need pistons. It didn't need boring. Virtually no taper. It needed just a re-ring, so I re-ringed it. And thought, well, piston sticks down the hole about 100th of an inch. So I took it to a machine shop and I had them deck 85 thou off the engine. So now the piston's only 15 thou in the hole, plus the head gasket, which is 40 thou thick. And then I also used older cylinder heads, the 5/16 castings. Again, a lot of you Mopar guys are probably cringing at the 5/16 casting. But on a 400-inch motor, which again isn't that big, with a bit of port work, they flow all right. As I say, this motor has worked out very well. I've run it in other vehicles. It moved, we're at 4,000 feet of elevation here, and it moved my 5,000-pound van down the track at a time of 15.3 was its best time. If you work backwards, had somewhere around 300 horsepower, which is reasonable. The 383, the high-performance 383, which is basically the same engine, would have made, you know, they were rated at 330, 335. Whether they actually made that's another issue. But this engine's making about that kind of horsepower, which is respectable. And this truck will be somewhere around 3,500 pounds when we're done. so it'll go reasonably well. And like I say, I'm pleased because the engine does make good power. If you have questions about specific areas of the Fargo, by all means, comment me, message me, whatever you want, and I will gladly tell you whatever I've done to it. It's not some sort of a top secret build. But as I mentioned in episode 1, I think my approach is fairly unique in that we are using the factory frame, which not a lot of guys have done. I have seen some that did do it and have done a nice job, but a lot of S10 frames, a lot of Dakota frames. I felt that was going backwards. I have a frame that fits the truck. Why not just change the suspension pieces instead? So that's what I've done with the front end from the Crown Vic, the 4-link kit, and yeah, we're going to have a Mopar engine too. So stay tuned for more episodes.